think it's important to set the scene and give you a bit of my background, before we go into that. So I work for Satara, and essentially what we do is we have a platform that is available, and we can take in vitro data that is generated by pharmaceutical companies as part of their drug development procedure. And what we can do is input that data within our platform. And we can generate different virtual populations within our platform, scale that data, and what we can actually do is predict exposures of the drugs in plasma. And typically, that would be similar to what you would do in a clinical trial where you generate the data and then would be able to do a comparison. What we have been able to do is actually generate a pregnancy population and factor in all of the changing physiology that occurs over each of the 3 trimesters. So essentially, and I suppose really my focus has been, it was very much drug development in the early days, working with pharmaceutical companies. We've been responsible for helping pharmaceutical companies develop between 1 or 200 what we would call PBPK models, so physiologically based pharmacokinetic models. And we can use these models to predict in pregnancy. Over the last 10 years, I would say that I've been more focused on the global health space because, as you can appreciate, there are a significant proportion of women in sub-Saharan Africa who are pregnant or breastfeeding and may need help. So to go back to your point now, sorry, I should have clarified that initially. So really that's where my interest lies. And I think, certainly over the last 5 years, there's been an increasing awareness of the use of quantitative approaches such as PBPK, I think, to help inform dosing and also provide information that can help clinicians and practitioners, make more informed decisions about giving drugs. I think the other thing that I would say as well is it's become more personalized, I think, the approach over the last 5 years. And I think much more about the patient, when I say patient, pregnant women being involved in their dosing decisions as well, informed decision making with the clinicians. And certainly over the last 5 years, I've been finding that I've been called in to give presentations to clinicians, from obs-gynae groups, increasingly in the US, because they want to be informed about the types of quantitative approaches that we're using in order to be able to make a decision about whether they actually want to use it in these situations. And in fact, certainly over the last 5 years, what we've been doing is hosting workshops where we've had clinicians available who are non-modelers. And what we're trying to do is explain the approaches for PBPK so that then they're more that it becomes less of a black box approach and more of an approach that then they would be familiar with, and also pharmacists and healthcare practitioners. And we've run these workshops in the US, also in Uganda, in Thailand, and next month I'm going to South America. So it's much more of a global effort.